from fucking Mourn the Light in the motherfucking house. One of the best bands that's out right now. Dwayne, you're an interesting motherfucker because, you know, I've known you as a fan of Beastmaker, you know, like I like back in the day, I started getting Bandcamp orders from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably around 2016, 2000, somewhere around there. I started noticing like some orders,
Yeah, I
you know,
remember
people's
going
names. I
to
was like,
like Shadow Kingdom back in the day. I think I was into some other bands that were on there, and I kept seeing the ads, and that kind of led me down for discovering you through that and everything, and then on to Bandcamp, and basically just followed you there from then on.
yeah. So it literally started as me going, okay, and then I think I met you at what up, Full Metal Gamer. I think that's Jason Roach.
Oh yeah, what up, Jay?
I think that's his
Yep, it is.
screen name
Yep.
for YouTube because he does video game stuff. Uh, what up, homie? So anyway, so I kept seeing your name, and then as time kind of progressed, I think it might have been Bowers in the house too. What up? Um, I think after a certain amount of time, I was just like, wow, who is this guy? Because I started to wonder because I was like, his collection's getting vast, and then um I think I met you finally. I think I met you at Hell's Heroes 2.
Yeah, it was at there was a couple Hell's Heroes. Seen you
Well,
guys a couple of
that's
times up
when we
here.
that's when we officially met though. I don't think I
Yeah,
had met you before that because
yeah.
I don't think Haunt ever we
I
never
saw
made
you
it
in.
near Connecticut.
I think I saw you in Boston prior to that, but I didn't meet you at the
Okay.
show. You were with Toxic Holocaust and
Mm, mhm.
Municipal Waste
Yeah.
at the Paradise Rock Club. I think that was the first time I saw you guys.
Okay. So didn't meet me then. Interesting because that's fine,
Yeah,
but because our meetings did come. So
I was right
I'm
down
really
front rocking, but I didn't go up to you and meet you or anything that night. I remember Carmen was standing right next to me in the front row that night.
yeah, and I ended up talking to Carbide like all night.
Yeah,
He was like he kind of hung out with me for the evening of me being out there. I just remember it being really fucking cold in Boston. I was like, this is some fucking shit. Like a California boy in a tank top in fucking Boston in November is chilly.
hmm
But that was a cool show. I mean, I haven't got to do anything on that scale since that, sadly, but like it was cool because I think I had just the previous year I went out with Zach Sabbath, which was maybe a little bit bigger than Municipal Waste in the end. Like Municipal Waste had some really big shows and some smaller ones where Zach, it was just like every night fucking
yeah.
packed front to back, you know, every single night. And that was like me going, I always say this, that was like I went to college. That was music college for me because before that I had never played with anybody that famous, you know,
Yeah, yeah. I
where
went to
people are
that
waiting.
when they were with Clutch. I saw them on tour. It was pretty wild. But yeah, they were
Yeah,
playing.
I mean
They were playing to like a couple thousand people a night. They played up here at the Palladium, which is one of the bigger venues here in New England for underground metal and stuff. You know.
yeah, and you know, it's different to hear him do covers because he actually really sounds like Ozzy a lot.
Very much.
Like like to the T. He knows how to like do it like really well. And I've never been a big Black Label guy, but whatever. I mean, I don't think they're bad by any means. It just never.
Same,
I
same.
guess
He's a
I was
hell of a
always kind of more
performer,
into
guitar wise.
British. I was always more into the British metal and the doom metal and the, you know, that kind of thing was a little bit more my speed. And like I didn't like the groove stuff. It it never really got me. You know, I don't know if it's just like what, but he's so good. I actually gained a lot more respect for him on that tour. Like I was like, fuck, this guy is the shit. Like
Yep.
straight up. I mean, like with Ozzy, he was obviously an incredible player, but until you stand on stage, like you're right in the back, like watching him just drip fucking sweat. Like it was like
Yep.
it was like watching a fucking like shower turn on. I
Yep.
never saw anybody. I thought I sweat a lot. That motherfucker, when he'd be playing, puts his arm up and you could just see it's like a bucket just starts dripping. And you're just like, this dude's playing with all his fucking everything he has. And that really started to, I was like, fuck, I gotta take it to the next tier right now. And my dad always told me, he's like, if you didn't sweat, you didn't play. And so I've always made sure that I'm sweating. I'm like, gotta sweat, Trev, gotta sweat. But anyway, this ain't about me. I want to know some shit about Dwayne, man, because um, you messaged me one day, and we're friends now. So like we met at Hell's Heroes a couple times, and um, you know, sending you stuff, and just fan club stuff and yada yada. You send me a link and be like, "Hey, check this out. I have a band." And I was like, "Okay, interesting." Because usually, I'm not gonna lie, I got sent stuff this morning. Like people send me things. I don't know why. Like I still get label submissions. Like I'm a actual record label. I'm like, these people they don't know nothing about what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
like next, but with More in the Light, I saw the art you did, which is Suffer, Then You're Gone. Is that what this is? Suffer,
Yep.
Then We're Gone.
Yep.
Um, and I put it on and I was just like, this is good. This is really good. Who the fuck is like what the fuck is going on? And you're kind of like an ambassador in my eyes now in Connecticut. Would you say like how long have you been a part of the like how are you from Connecticut?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Born
Born and
in.
raised?
Yep. Yep. Lived up here my whole life, southeastern Connecticut.
Is it like tell me a little bit about the your background, man. Were you in bands before this? Because like you just emerged
Yeah.
age.
Yeah,
So
no, I was in when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I was in like a hardcore band in the area. And then that morphed into other different projects ranging from melodic death metal to power metal to traditional metal and just kind of all over the place. Still experimenting a lot uh, with what I was, I was into so much different stuff as I still am, but I had a really hard time when I was younger putting it all together into a cohesive, uh, bundle. I was kind of all over the
sure.
place with a lot of it. So,
Yeah.
um, but I did a lot of stuff. Uh, Nothing ever really seemed to take off too much. We get going and then there's some kind of roadblock or a band member change or whatever, which goes on for years and years. And then I kind of got discouraged by that for a little while. And I actually stopped doing the band thing for several years. And then a friend of mine was looking for a singer for a band. And I had only dabbled in that with my demos on my own, and that was it at the time. And I was like, all right, let's go have some fun with it. And came back with no pressure, no, just me having fun, going out singing for some friends' band, no pressure to try and get anything done or make anything of it, just go out and have fun. And that was it. And then that was the catalyst to me starting to book shows when I was in that band back in around 2008, 2009, doing the scene productions thing, and I just kind of got into that and started doing that more often, and and then I was in a band called Kill the Straggler that I also sang for, and then while I was doing that, I fell in love with guitar again and decided I wanted to put together a band that was no um, I wasn't compromising on the styles whatsoever. Whereas most of the other bands I had been in up to that point, with the people I was in the bands with and stuff, I compromised and did, you know, bent to more their style than what I was interested in doing. And so a friend of mine, Greg, and I put it together, and my initial thought was to make a band that was kind of a mix between Candlemass, Night Demon, and King's X, that kind of thing. Those were the three bands that I kind of wanted to smush into a ball and run with it. And that's where it started, as just kind of a side project, and I just loved it so much that I just ran with it, and it became I dropped the other band, and basically since then More Than the Light's just been my only thing, and I just put everything into that.
You know, Connecticut kind of tripped me out. We played Cherry Street, right? Is that what that
Yeah.
place is called?
Yeah.
I think I played Danbury, Connecticut once in like 2003 or 4 when I was like playing in other people's bands. I wasn't the Trevor that everybody knows now. I used to be like the guy. I was finding musicians. I just wanted to play in bands. I didn't really have the I didn't have the leader role yet, you know, like there was not that guy. I wasn't like, all right, I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna do all this shit. Fuck it. Like I was still trying to actively find people that we have a band practice, come up with a riff, I help out and whatever. Um or try to make them influenced by what I'm influenced by, because it seems like in my life, I'm sure a lot of us in heavy metal kind of feel this way. There's not a lot. It's very slim pickings when it comes to like people that like the same exact shit as you. If I went up to like a random heavy metal guy and was like, "Yo, do you like Witchfinder General?" They're like, "Who?" It's like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? So it's like
There's so many
I
subgenres, and everything's so there's so much within the metal uh
yeah,
genres
yeah.
that you
They
can
don't
meet
know.
somebody that
When I put like looking for a metal guy and a Craigslist ad, I mean it was just never did the planets like align. And it usually, like, I try to influence people. But Connecticut, man, I was actually really impressed. And um I there's like a diner across the street that does like a full vegan menu that
yeah,
was like the best for me after show. Like I thought I was eating gas station food that night, bro. Like, I was like, but everybody's like, "Oh, there's a diner across the street," and I was like, "All right, I'll get some fucking fries and a salad, or maybe they'll have a fucking veggie burger." Dude, full fucking menu at like 2 a.m. I'm just like, what the fuck? Also, our new promo photos, we pull into the Red Roof Inn where we're staying at, and we just look, and I'm like, well, there's where we're taking photos. Let's figure out how to make it happen today. So like our promo pics for the Dreamers record are actually we're taken in Connecticut. And I think now that I've experienced Connecticut, I have fallen in love with it. And it's a lot of it's because of you, because you're there. And I always like try to tell people, like, I attach states to bands that live there
yeah,
because it's very important to have friends. It just really, really is. Like, it is beyond important to have people in places that can tell you where to go, or they're gonna be at the show, or if fucking they got a band that you end up really, really being a fan of yourself. So um I think that there is a really cool thing happening in Connecticut, and you've helped with a festival, correct?
yeah, well, I did my
I
first
don't know
dabble.
much about that. Can you elaborate on that and tell us all about it, so we can, if there's another one, somebody might be like, "Oh shit, I'm going to Connecticut."
Well, several years ago, my friend Scott, who runs a label out here, Salt of the Earth Records, him and I were doing some local shows where I was kind of working with some of the bands on his label, at some of the local places that I booked. And then we did some smaller, festivals with local bands and some of his bands involved. and we were just having a good time with it, and something was happening, and it was feeling good, and we brainstormed starting this Stoner and Doom Festival, which at the time, his label was kind of that
I
was
remember his label.
yeah, it was really, really geared towards that genre and everything at the
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
so we started the New England Stoner and Doom Festival, and we did 3 years of it to this date. We're still talking about doing more down the road, but COVID really, really screwed everything up because the third one was supposed to happen basically a month after we got shut down, and several delays and all sorts of stuff. Later, we ended up finally getting the third one in like almost 2 years later, and then it was right before the club that I was running at the time was
Yeah.
basically closing its doors. So it was one of our last deals, and we also did this festival for each year called Doom and Brews, where I would bring bands from all over the East Coast up and have a good time with a couple of days worth of stoner and doom bands together, and very similar. And then recently, Evgeny, who
Yeah.
does Stormbringer festival up in Worcester, he had reached out to me when he was first talking about doing the festival, and him and Carmine and I, you know, were through networking and helping each other out and stuff, kind of made the first one go together, and then the second year, Evgeny also kept me on to help with the stage stuff and backline, and help run the festival on show days and stuff. And I did the pre-festival, just trying to help Evgeny with his vision of Stormbringer, and he did a really good job those first couple of years, and I hope he plans on continuing. And it's a really cool
Yeah, that
thing.
really puts Connecticut on the map, dude.
Yeah.
And I for one um think that More in the Light deserves a lot more credit than you guys get because you're really good. Like I was driving, I always find myself coming back to it. Like I'll be on a drive and I'll be like, what do I want to listen to right now? Because it's interesting as I've gotten older. Like I'm a big Eddie Van Halen fan. I've always been a fan of his. My dad knew him, so I've actually met him in person quite a few times. Um, and he's a great guy. But in one of his interviews, he said something before because like somebody asked him like, "What are you listening to right now?" Eddie's like, "I don't have a time." It's like listen to Van Halen, you know. And I didn't really understand it at the time, but now I'm starting to really understand it as he had 5150 studios. When you have a studio on your fucking property or just somewhere just
Right.
close enough just to pop in, you like live in your band, like you live in your music, like you're not listening to that much because you also don't want to get skewed with all kinds. For me, I don't want to get like, I can get depressed or I could get happy by listening to a band. I could be like, these guys are killing me right now, like I can't even compare, um or it's like I'm listening to a different genre and like suddenly like I'm like, ooh, this is like something interesting, like atmospheric they do. Maybe I should try to, do it my way, like on an electric guitar, or whatever. But yeah, I keep going back to Face of Death, and I'm just like I when you said that you're influenced by Night Demon, Candlemass, and did you say Racer X or
Uh,
King's X?
King's X, but I love Racer X too.
I do too. I'm a big Gilbert fan, but I get you don't do a lot of that virtuoso shit, and that's kind of something that I really liked about your stuff. Actually, is the tastefulness of the leads. To be honest with you, there's no dick wankery or anything. Where you're just like, okay, here's like for me in my line of work, I'm like, all right, insert dick wank solo right here, record, but I really enjoy that. Like like it's the challenge always drives me. And anyway,
So part of that, I can,
that song has like all of those bands in it,
yeah,
kind of. It kind of has like, it starts off with the more like, dude, and then it just, it I really love the chorus on that one, the lyrics. I can't remember them right now off of my head, but like I think it's like, I mean, I'm gonna fuck this up. So I'm
yeah,
really high too right now. So trying to use my brain to remember lyrics of other bands. I think you say somewhere in there, you stare at the face of death today and say no way, or
yeah.
something like that, and then stare at the face of death, or something, and say no way. And as I like was reading the lyrics, I was like, this band writes great lyrics. And that is where I really disconnect with a lot of heavy metal of today, because I'm a like more deep person, and not so much trying to go into a fantasy world per se. I like to live in the reality. That speaks to me more. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that that stuff's not anything
Yeah,
that
I
I
mean,
like. I
when I'm
do.
doing the when I'm doing the lyrics and stuff, which I write a lot of them, but mine is definitely based more on how I'm feeling and life and all that stuff, like the emotions and the ups and the downs and all that stuff. Whereas Andrew, who does the other writing as far as lyrics and stuff, and Andrew's, it's a nice mix because Andrew tells a story when he does his. He's very
Hmm.
much a storyteller when like he did The Hunt and Progeny of Pain, and
Sure.
he's got some stuff on this new album that's really cool too. And but he tells a story, and I really like the way he does that, and it's a nice mix. But you can pretty much tell where my stuff is because it's really engulfed in emotions and your
I
the
love it. I love it, man. I don't know what else to say about it. I fucking love it, dude. I love your band so much. In fact, like, definitely, if I go on my phone and listen to what like I've been listening to, that's like I said, it's always like up there. Like I always can, find, I'm like, oh, there's Face of Death, up with song. Oh fuck me, it's the first song, but god damn it, I'm trying to think of the lyric right now that it said, because again, you guys are a lyric, like, I've read your lyrics because it's intrigued me because of Face of Death. But let me talk about Face of Death some more, because again, I think it's like a really important song in your guys's catalog, in my opinion, because it goes into this Candlemass fucking type doom.
yeah,
No, not today. It's very like opera, like you get epic
yeah,
doom in there. And I love that you guys experiment with the multiple genre kind of thing. Like I know you guys have posted like, we aren't a doom band. You aren't a doom band at all. Like, you guys have epic doom metal parts.
yes,
The overall songs are really melodic and kind of upbeat, but you know how to bring that other element into it, and it's really cool, because this kind of goes like, it's like, oh shit, like, you don't expect it, whereas I'm very like minimalistic. I like bands that really drove me musically, like Def Leppard. They're in a lot of stuff going on. I'm sorry, it's straightforward. But that's something I really appreciated about uh band like Def Leppard.
they were my
You
first
know,
band I ever saw
it's just
live.
boom,
The
just
Def
boom,
Leppard was my
like
first
right out.
live show.
You can that was your first live show.
Yeah, it was Def Leppard and Ugly Kid Joe.
That's fucking sick. And I love Ugly Kid Joe. They had good songs in the 90s. They still play, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They just put out a new album.
I think they got too famous off a cover song. I think that fucked them. Didn't they do a Cat Stevens song?
Cats in the Cradle. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they had that one
That
big
was
hit
back.
before that. I Hate
They
Everything
did.
About You.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
I remember that one now. Oh, but that's not a very good one. That's a fucking. I know they got better stuff in their catalog than that because I remember buying their stuff and being into them. That's a great first show, man. Def Leppard is really good live. They've never not been good live. Like they still are
Yeah.
good live today. Like
Yeah,
those sounds great.
it was for the Adrenalize tour, so it was right after Steve had died. So
Yeah.
not that long after that. I think it was like 92 or something like that.
They did a really smart replacement, Vivian Campbell. That couldn't have been a better guitar player for them, like experienced and fucking just already a shredding guitar player
Hmm.
goes into that band and literally he never could get the writing role. Obviously there's only one Steve Clark. You cannot deny his influence on the songwriting because as soon as he's gone it's just like they don't have it. So you knew that he was a very, very crucial part of he was writing riffs.
Yep.
He was the riff, he was the fucking riff man. And I wouldn't want to be the guy that has to step into the dead guitar player's shoes that's the man. And they don't do a lot of new material. You go see them live, they're playing Hysteria basically in its entirety.
Yeah.
Like you hear every song on it. So it's like if you love Hysteria, then that was a fucking awesome show. Like you can't really go wrong,
Yeah,
like
you're getting Hysteria and Pyromania, and that's pretty much all you're getting. You know,
yeah,
maybe.
and there's nothing wrong with that because they're both two really great records and the songs are so like they transcend time. We will be hearing those songs when they're long dead and we're old men in our 60s going listening to Photograph or whatever, the fucking Billy's Got a Gun or whatever the fuck, dude. I mean they're so that band, you'd have to ask ex-girlfriends of mine because like my wife knows I'm a like I took her to her Def Leppard show when we first started dating. I took her to see Def Leppard and Journey. So this was quite a long time ago too. This was like
Yeah,
11 years ago. But in my past, like you got in my car, we list there's Def Leppard was playing. There was almost no ifs, ands, or buts. Like always, like they set it off for me because the singing and all that stuff. I that's so rad that that's your first show because
yeah.
that's
The
what a
first band that set it
great
off for me,
impression.
similar, like Europe was the band that started it for me. When I was a kid, I saw Europe on MTV, and that was the first one where I was like, "Hey, wait a second." Other than listening to what my dad and my mom and whatever they were listening to, or whatever the radio was playing when I was in the car with them, Europe was the
So
first
Jason
thing.
Jason says my first show was Hootie and the Blowfish and Train. I mean that's not really that bad. At least Hootie was like pretty good guitar. There was some good guitar going on. That's not definitely not my like thing. Never really has been. I would have rather been at a rap show than Hootie and the Blowfish. And in retrospect of the 1990s, I'll take Wu-Tang Clan. You know what I'm saying? Or for me in those times, it was like Wu-Tang, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, Danzig. Sadly, like I have a Vic Rattlehead tattoo, but Megadeth and Metallica were two of the biggest disappointments of my little musical brain. When I heard Load for the first time, I was like, heavy metal sucks now, like really bad. Like because Metallica to me was the biggest thing. They got me really inspired to play guitar. Kirk Hammett's like always been one of my favorites, and James obviously is a big influence on me because he played guitar and sing.
Yeah. No, that
So,
James was huge with me. Mustaine too. I was into the early ones were King Diamond,
oh,
Annihilator, Metal Church, Metallica, Megadeth. Those were the early ones for me as far as really heavy stuff outside of the whole hair, which obviously Europe, Skid Row, Guns N' Roses. I was into all that stuff first, then into the heavier stuff. Next thing you know, I'm listening to Leprosy from Death and MOD records and Suicidal Tendencies and Obituary, Morbid Angel, getting into a lot of that stuff, and then even later,
yeah,
right after high school, I got into black metal for a little while, and so the mellow death like In Flames and Dark Tranquility and stuff like that, and then I really got into power metal again when Hammerfall and
sure.
Halloween
Yeah.
and Nocturnal Rites and all of them were having like a big resurgence. Blind Guardian in the late '90s. That really
Yeah,
got
they're
me.
I think isn't Blind Guardian, they're coming to the United States for the first time in
Yeah, it's
quite a
been a
while,
little
I believe.
while. Yeah, they used to come pretty
So,
regularly, but it's been a while, and they got Night Demon in tow this time. So
yeah, that makes it. I was like, man, I told Jarvis, I was like, you guys should headline. But that's just me. I'm a bigger Night Demon fan than I am Blind Guardian. Again, because
there,
there's some things in heavy metal, because I come from the punk scene. I grew up with punk rockers. Like, I just never got fully immersed in the fantasy sword world as
those
much.
early
And not that I don't like
those
it.
early Blind
It's
Guardian
cool
albums are
because
thrashers, though, like real thrashing.
they are. You're right. They fucking rule. They're really good. And I'm not talking shit on Blind Guardian at all. I just think Night Demon has like they got some serious bangers to contend with,
Yeah. No,
and
I love Night Demon. When
Jarvis.
I go see them live, it's just I love that it's the second they start to the time that they're done. It's just pure energy, 100%. It
Yeah.
it doesn't stop. It just kicks your ass every time. I've seen them many times, and every time it's the same thing. They just hit you like a truck and then walk away and leave you wanting more. You know.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, like, being entangled with Jarvis, like I have been for the last 4 years. Like, it blows my mind. I'm like, we have long talks, and I've been like, you guys have to make it. Like, otherwise, I was like, I don't know. Like, some band in the genre in the community needs to break through to help everybody out. Like, there has to be a band for the community to leech onto. Let's say that, like, it sounds weird to say leech onto, but really, like,
No, that we need
it
that
this
gateway
this this
band.
this is a who business, the music business. And our culture of music, underground metal, it's not as there's not a lot of people helping it. Like, there just isn't. There's the festivals and stuff, of course, but as far as going out and opening, almost everybody's doing their own tours. You know, it's just how it is. Like, and I felt like when I heard Outsider, obviously, before it was released, and I was like, "Fuck, this is really good." Because there was some slower shit on there, and like, I I've always been one to kind of I juggle. I juggle from the fucking to the like, it just, I can't help myself. It's just like, I sometimes, so I really like that about this record. I felt like they kind of just went whoop, and I was like, fuck, you're gonna make it big. And here they are getting to go out with Blind Guardian. It's begun. So hopefully they can take it up a notch. There's only a few, as you know, like, being, it's very hard. Like, when you book shows, so that, like, you only get like 50 people, maybe 100 at like an underground metal show. That's like a good turnout. Like, you're
Yep.
like, oh, cool. Bands got paid, and the venue got paid, sound guy got paid. Great night, had fun, going home. And it's not, I have a different perspective, because growing up in a punk rock community, I knew the guy that did the shows, Mida Goodwin. he is a dear fucking friend of mine, and well, is we just I don't live there anymore. It's just time of my life where I played in a band that was from Stockton, and I didn't live in Stockton, so I was like an outsider, but in the scene because I was only like 30 minutes away. So like I was at rehearsal all the time on the weekends. I was band and that I was in Scattered Fall. We played. I mean, my bass player's favorite band was Filth and Blatz. A lot of it was this like Bay Area punk music from the '90s that would be all kind of like really elevated with the success of Rancid, who's from the Bay Area. So we all had like we were seeing those kind of bands like local gigs, stuff that wasn't like out of reach. I saw Rancid at a skate park. They don't fucking play skate parks anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's like so different. I actually took acid at that show too, which is even crazier to think about now. I'm like, yeah, I dropped acid at a skate park at a Rancid show in like 1993 or 4 or something like that. It was fucking crazy. But it's I kind of like the small shows. I thrive in that kind of setting because it's what I grew up with more than the big stuff. Like I like that shit, but like sometimes when I can't get close and I can't feel the band, it's not as fun for me. I
No,
still
I
get
prefer it,
I'll
and
still
the
get
whole
close.
yeah, you get the
I'll get close
personal.
to the stage still.
Yeah, you get that. You can. It's great when you can go to a small place and you can meet the guys that you're there to see, and you can make a connection. There's something there. It's not just show up and there's just a boatload of people from wall to wall, and you have to fight to get where you want to get what you need, and I don't know. It's just the smaller clubs is more intimate. You run into It's easier to run into those same people you see all the time. There's like a family vibe to it, you know.
There is.
Instead of
There's
just
there's a
being a dude in the middle of a crowd, there's a family thing.
there's an acceptance for sure. There's not. I feel like that's what's something that I've always loved about punk and heavy metal. Punk kind of got a little snooty for a little bit for me. That kind of made it hard for me because I met some people that were like, "You're not punk enough" or whatever. Because I was like a skater, like I was like on a skateboard all the time. So I didn't really want a mohawk or any of that stuff because it didn't go with the skateboard culture at all. You know what I mean? It just was like you would not be taken seriously. You know what I mean? When you show up to a spot and you got a fucking mohawk and shit. Different times. I mean, now probably, but like back in the fucking 90s, hell no, dude. I mean, it was like you either listen to punk, metal, or rap, or all of it. And that's what I was that guy. I was like, I listened to all of this. I will go to any show that is happening in my town just so I have something to fucking do. Cause like there's just nothing to do,
Yeah, for
like
us here, there
that's
was a big local. It was like a local hardcore scene here in Connecticut, and not being too far from New York and all that stuff. That was the big thing for the underground, like the more local bands and all that stuff. But we had a really great club right here years ago. It's closed since quite a few years now, but it was the LNG Club, and I saw anything from uh, I saw all the bands that are now way bigger. Like it was a 400 capacity club something. I saw Dream Theater in it in that
oh
tiny
wow.
club like that in '98. I saw
Cool.
all the big death metal bands all came through there. I saw Testament there, Typo Negative. Life of Agony was a band that I was into. I saw 4 or 5 times back then. But
Fuck, you're lucky. Like where I live, there is
It was like
nothing.
15 minutes from my house, and I was in high school, and I got to see all these. I mean, and if you go back and you look at anybody from like Soil, like these bands, Soilwork, My Dying Bride, these European bands, they were all hitting that spot too before they kind
Wow.
of, and so it was quite a place, and they did a lot of really cool stuff over the years, and I could go every week basically, and see something
Wow.
absolutely amazing that I look back at it, and these are bands that will never play clubs that small again. And I got to see them in that intimate before they blew up, and it's really
That's
cool.
incredible. I'm super jealous, man, because like I grew up where there was nothing. Like there like to see anything it was tough. Like the Bay Area was like the closest, but like everything in San Francisco was 21 and over, like everything. And I was young. So like I had to like herald to the streets and like go to like 924 Gilman Street or the Seaford Center in Stockton, Capitol Garage in Sacramento. And just because, like I wasn't really in like there wasn't um I wasn't really big into mainstream music, so it wasn't like I was looking to go to big shows. Like a big show to me would be like going to see Metallica, Anthrax, those kind of bands back then. You know what I'm saying? That's like,
Yeah.
so everything else, I was like trying to find just whatever was happening wherever I just went. Sometimes there was a band I would just be all into, man. I remember one time I saw this band called the Groovy Ghoulies. I would never listen to this shit now, mind you. Like this is not I because I they had a vibe and I loved the vibe at the time because it was high energy. Like he played with his wife back then. I think they're divorced now. So it's like it's all dark to me. I'm like, you're divorced. That was like the whole, in my brain. I remember seeing like the husband and wife playing punk music and it was like a spooky thing. And the dude's name was Kepi. Um I mean, I'm just saying, like, I always found something I dug, like even if it wasn't like it was not going to be my favorite thing, like I would still have a good time. And then if I saw them on a bill again, I'd go check them out again. Like my girlfriend in high school, she was like really, really into MXPX. So that was one. I saw them a couple times, but another one, probably the band that we saw regularly that played a lot, like in the local scene of California was AFI. They were at the time they were considered hardcore here, East Bay
Yeah.
hardcore. And they didn't sound like the AFI you hear now back then. It was much different. I'm sure you have a record or two probably in that fucking vast vault behind you. That thing look to me, you know what that looks like to me behind you? That looks like oh my god. That looks like a full-time job.
It can be, but it's fun.
Keeping it organized and making sure you put everything back. What a fucking challenge,
Don't
man.
forget logging everything into Discogs and keeping track of it that way too. And
I am I collect other shit and I for a while I had a really nice vinyl collection and I don't treat them well. I don't treat records well. I leave them out. I'll just fucking leave it there. It'd be
yeah,
covered in dust. And California is the dustiest place on earth. It's like we don't get that much rain. It's not wet here. So when it's like, dude, like a week, I could just fucking white like anything. I just put my finger on there's a fucking layer of film, So I have a decent collection, but it is not like that, Like I know you're a big collector, and again, like I feel like when I'm talking to you, I feel like you could write the book on music Connecticut. Like you're the president of Connecticut as far as I'm concerned. I'm like there's nobody that probably knows it better than you. Not only are you in a sick band, Mourn the Light, which everybody, we'll talk about Mourn the Light again in a minute, but two, I know that you did, Prost Beer Hall. That this place was called Prost, right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
never played there and I know the name of the place. So, I saw what you're doing and like, like I said, I since we've encountered, I'm glad that for some reason we've become friends because I mean like I would have never I know like one person in Connecticut and it's just because they were from California, you know, and it's come to now I have, you and Kyle especially, but I know I'm friends with Bill too. Like he's always in the live stuff on when I go on the fan club page. He's always posting shit, and he's a supporter, and you
Yeah.
are too. Which thank you, man. I mean, like you've supported the hell out of Haunt over the years. You have everything. I think you have
Yeah.
all of my albums on vinyl for sure back there. So
Oh yeah,
thank you for that.
multiple
I have to
versions probably.
give you some. have to give you some credit there. But your guys have told me you're a pretty big Haunt fan, from what your friends say.
Yeah, I definitely listen to a lot of Haunt.
And I'm glad, because I hopefully some of my lyrical stuff, that's when I started kind of like, whoa, me and Dwayne are way more similar than I thought when I started reading your lyrics, or the lyrics of the band. So it's like, I like that message. I like your outlook, and I like your attitude, and I think you're just one of those guys. I wanted to talk to you badly because I'm like, Mourn the Light does not get the attention the music deserves, and it's just because of how everything is dismantling at the seams. Spotify taking over, where it's like you have to have social media following, you have to have this, you have to have that, and it's like, I mean, I'm from a completely different world because I'm 42 years old and I grew up handing out flyers, handing out CDRs, handing out tapes, whatever, tape trading.
Yeah.
And those things, where I was like, you know what? It's time for me to start talking to my friends that are in bands and using the little teeny exposure that I have to get people to know who the people that are actually the family of people that are doing it and making things happen, who the fuck they are. You know what I mean? Because, not saying that you guys don't have any recognition. You're a band from Connecticut. It's not like, woo, you're not from a cool city. Very similar to me. I don't live in a cool city,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
no, we're 2 hours away from New York. We're 2 hours away from Boston. We're tucked away in this corner. We're an hour away from Providence, so we're just kind of we're not in any of those cities. We're close enough to where we can be a part of those scenes and go support and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's not close. It's as you know, when you came to Cherry Street, it's a very different kind of feel than going to Boston or going to New York City or one of
Way
those.
different. Way I liked it better. I don't like big cities. I'm a like like I said, I was like Stockton. I played in a band in Stockton, which is that's where I really got my start as like playing shows and going on tours with the band in Stockton. And Stockton now is a big city because California doesn't allow anything. I mean, this place is just like, it's just an explosion of population daily. It's just how it is here. And Stockton at that time was a small fucking city. It was nobody cared. There's a port there. There's waterway there, and that's why it exists. So it's just a place where there's some industry there. So there's some jobs, and there's some of this and some of that. But like, again, it took a key figure, and kind of some like you to me remind me of my friend Mitta, who like put on the shows, and he had a band and all that. You're very similar in that respect, because like you have a band, you've booked shows, you try to create a community space, a fun place for everybody to enjoy themselves, and for a place for touring bands to have a place to play. If it's not, you can't always play the banging cities. You got to play some other shit. And dude, when I drive into New York City, I'm a fucking mess. And the second we enter, like, I am just like, where are we parking? It's the first thought in my mind, is like, where is this fucking trailer going? Because like,
Yeah, you don't know what
like
you're gonna
a
run
club
into
like
there.
St. Vitus, like they have a little spot out front, but I mean, it's like first come first serve basis. It's not waiting for you. So like a band like our size, we get to New York and it's like, oh great, like every fucking time. And when I got to Cherry Street, granted, I almost got in a fight with the sound guy for some reason, because I that guy was insanely drunk, and I hadn't even spoken a word to him the whole night. And he's like, "You've been giving me a hard time all fucking evening." And I was like, Dude, I haven't even said a word to you all fucking night. I've done nothing. Like what the fuck? He got all mad at me and he was like in my face. It was weird
Yeah.
because he took my microphone. So it was fun. I'll never forget it. And I don't care that that happened because that actually didn't ruin the fun I had that evening. Um, but even a place like that, like just a small stage, drunk sound guy. But the bands, I felt like that night was like such a sick lineup. You know, we had fucking Ciax from, you know, Carmine's band. And I think I love Carmine, by the way. I consider him a dear friend. Like I really, 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 really love Carmine. He's like you. He's like these people I meet and I'm just like, uh, you know, I'm just attached to you no matter what. Like, we aren't the best of friends in the world because obviously I live in California, you live in fucking Connecticut. But
Yeah.
if I'm in Connecticut, I want to hang out with Dwayne. That's just plain and simple, like how my brain works. And I feel the same way when I get to like Providence or Boston with Carmine. Like, I am excited to see him, you know, at the gig. And he always shows up and supports. And he does what he does in Siax, his style of singing, he's the master of that. Like he knows how to do that old school shit like
Yep.
butter. Like he like is the embodiment of that. And and Seax is a great band too. Also, another one. I'll probably have Carmine on here too. You know, I obviously down the road for for a chat because Seax is another one of those bands. I feel like they are not on the perspective, you know, ladder
Yeah.
that they should be on because they are a really good band. Like
Very good. Super high energy. Absolutely.
and you could tell they have a lot of other stuff going on, but for some reason in that when they are together and actually doing it, it's like that you can't tell. You know what I mean? Because I know they've been around a long time, and as time goes on, people get busier and things. You can't tour, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, there's a lot of complications. So getting to that, I wonder what's next for More in the Light. Like, what do you guys? What's the plans for 2024?
Well, we've got a show tomorrow night actually at Cherry Street with some friends of ours from Virginia and Book of Worms. And then after
Oh
that
yeah,
show, we're
he has a late. Doesn't he have a label? Twin
uh,
Evil
what's
or
that?
something? Never mind.
No, no, I think it's a different band. These guys are
Okay.
from Virginia. Like psychedelic, stoner doom, kind of
Yeah,
that
I
kind of
thought that
thing.
guy has a record label. He does
Uh,
not.
Not that I know of, no. Well, we've had them up here in New England a few times over the years, and then we went down and visited them when we went down to Virginia, and they're coming
I'm
back
looking
up
him up
here.
right now. I'm looking him up because I need to see the album covers. Okay, yeah, this is definitely a different band. Okay. I've seen this name somewhere. It could have been the Doom charts or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They've been on there a couple times, I think.
So I know I knew that's familiar. That'll be a rad show. Are you guys headlining or?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. We got it sandwiched. Another local band with us. They'll open the night, and then the two touring bands in the middle, and then we'll close it out. So, and then the very next day, we're gonna start recording the guitars for the full length.
So as a what are your thoughts on Bandcamp, man? Are you like now that you have a band and that you're on more in the light bandcamp.com, like how has that changed your approach to music overall, because it gives to me it gives you a hub of like
Yeah.
here we are.
Yep.
Have you
That
seen
and
positive? Is
I
there
think
positive feedback from Bandcamp? Like your fan base, are you guys growing it there? Like, are you able to like utilize the tools in front of
yeah,
you for what it is?
yeah, yeah. We've I try to utilize some of the tools that they give you, like I generate codes give the
Yeah.
music out to people just so they can hear it. That's the main thing is I want people to hear it. I want people to discover us. And uh, in general, if people like it, they're going to buy it. So
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to giving it to them for free to, hit the play button and see if it's for them or not,
Yeah.
because that in general is the way it works now anyway. If they're going to try to find us with streaming somewhere, they're trying us and we're not getting anything from it. But hopefully, if they like it, they'll support us in some way so we can keep going without going broke, And
Here's a fucking like I want to get I want to get some music philosophy in because I feel like it's part of what I do, and I'm curious of how other people think about this. I personally feel like the way that the music business works now with streaming and the things that the businesses say about like it's oversaturated, it's this and it's that. I I feel like Spotify and streaming services are like ultimately the death of music because like uh we're going up against people that have too much money and too much power, and like it's literally I'm fine with streaming, but I think when the CEO makes $2 billion in a year, and then the corporation reports at a loss, like they made no money, right? But you're like, you made $2 billion, and your whole platform is based off of other people's stuff. You guys just provide a place to do it. You're like a manager. They're like what Bandcamp should get 10%. You know, like how Bandcamp does. They
yeah,
get 10%. That's how Spotify and those services should be set up. Like 90% of the money goes to the fucking people that create the content.
I mean,
They
this
take
the latest stuff with that is absolutely insane. Where I mean, they're talking literally, was it 62% of streaming that's done on that site is done with smaller bands that don't hit that benchmark that
here.
they want you to hit. You don't hit that tier. So they're
Yeah.
basically they're taking that 62.5% of these hardworking bands that are smaller, that are still spending money to record. They're still going out there. They're still buying gear. They're putting the time in. They're doing all the stuff. And now you're taking any money that they might have had, as small as it might have been, you're taking that away and you're putting it into the pockets of the people that are already making the money and already have that platform via a major record label or some kind of whatever's going on or push that they've managed to land themselves in or whatever. But you're taking 62.5% of the streaming revenue for the site and you're just throwing it into the pockets of the other 40% that are already making the money. It's
Yeah,
just
so those that don't know, in starting this year in 2024, Spotify has now they've incorporated a new way of a tiered system where each song has to get 1,000 plays before you are paid. So you can't. It's like it's kind of like YouTube. You have to be at a certain level to monetize. You can't monetize off of anything with less than 1,000. The each song, not 1,000 plays in total, each one. So it's kind of, I look at it as like I know people are um more understanding these days that Spotify and these things don't pay the bands. Like I think a lot of people were just in the dark for so long, and they're just so used to be given their music for free that like they don't even think about like, oh shit, how do these people survive? It's like,
right.
you know, most bands nowadays, everybody has a job, like everybody. Like I'm like an anomaly in the system, in the matrix, because I manufacture my own shit and I started all my stuff being shipping it myself, doing like,
Yeah.
again, I get this from the punk rock scene, dude. Minor Threat, Ian MacKaye, one of my biggest fucking heroes ever. Discord Records. Love the shit. Love everything, those like all that DC stuff. hits home with me. And they were skaters, dude. You know, they had a ramp and shit, and they're cool fucking dudes. But that is, I feel like, so I did a couple. I'm doing a couple things, and it's kind of out there. I'm like, you know what? They're driving the market, and they're saying that music is not worth anything. Well, you know what? We have to be the people that go, well, you know what? Maybe a digital album isn't worth it. Shouldn't cost $12. What if it costs $5? Just make it so low, but it's actually more than industry standard royalty rate you would make. Like usually that would be like $1, 25 or something like that. It's ridiculously low.
Yeah.
Um, but like I'm saying, I'm like, you're making, there's still something there. You can't go like, well, we're losing so much. We're losing so much because like we put a price on it and they've put a price on it. You know what I mean? And our price is like, we're Ferrari and they're fucking Kia, you know? And like, in order for us to take back the market, we have to kind of swing that. And I feel like making things affordable, like digital albums. So my new album is $5. I've never sold. I've been on record labels. We have never, two different record labels that are reputable. That we never sold a digital $5 ever, nowhere. It was always like $9.99,
Yeah.
$10.99 for the digital album. So to me, I'm going, well, I guess you know what? In reality, there's no fucking manufacturing cost other than making the record. Why not? We gotta we if it like because I'm my new record also is not gonna be on Spotify. Only the singles will be up on streaming. So like people aren't gonna hear it. And that's okay. I have enough albums for everybody to drown themselves in for a couple years. But like I feel like giving them albums is it's fueling that fire of like we're just gonna keep doing it because they say it's for exposure. Now, for somebody like you, would you say you've gotten more exposure from something like Bandcamp or something like Spotify?
I would say Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it definitely is a big difference because we push Bandcamp, whereas we're not really pushing the whole Spotify thing. Um, and we also simplified things because we used to have a .com and we've just made the Bandcamp.com our .com, and that's just we just do it. It keeps everything simple. It's all right there. And that's
Yeah.
been our thing. And we use the mailing list and our followers and stuff. And like I said, I generate the codes. I try to get it to people that may not have heard of us before, so they can hear us for the first time and hopefully like what they hear and then follow us and stay with us. And the more stuff we'll put out over the years, will hopefully we'll get seen a little bit more, and then they'll dive into the older stuff a little bit, and that's our hopes, but we're just trying to have fun with it. And I think Bandcamp is definitely something that supports the artist a hell of a lot more. And
Yeah.
it's also another way. It's like going to the smaller clubs with Bandcamp too. There's, when they order merch from
Absolutely.
you, you see the names, you see where they're from. You can communicate them via message. You can, cross promote all the stuff that you're doing. And it's got that family vibe and
It
that.
could, it has so much untapped, it has so much untapped potential to me that it's almost mind-boggling that they haven't stepped in and just been like, you know what, we're gonna do this. Like I feel like their app is a big problem because like some people use it and they love it because they buy all their shit on Bandcamp and boom, it's there on
I
their
love
app.
it because I like physical product and I like the digital. Because
Yeah,
when I'm in my car, I'm listening to digital. When I'm on my
that's
computer,
what
I'm
I'm
listening to
saying.
digital.
That's what I'm
So when
saying.
I
That's
buy
how.
a vinyl record from Haunt and I get the digital with it,
Yeah,
I
you
have
do.
you in my car, I have you wherever, and then when I want to spin it and I want to read the lyrics and I want the visual, I have the best of both worlds.
I
Is
love
doing it
that
that way.
about I love that about Bandcamp because it's automatic. It's not something that has to be set up. You don't have to put a code in the bag or something, or whatever. I like when we're on tour and we sell records, I'm like so irritated because I'll get people that like hit me up and they're like, "Can I get a download code?" And I'm like, because like I'll gladly give them a code. It's just that I have to do it, and I'm like, oh, I'm already busy enough, but I like, I'll do whatever I have to for my fans. You know how important, like I love my community of haunt people, but it's really a luxury that when they buy it on Bandcamp, it's just like it's there forever for them too. It's not like these streaming services that you know shit could get yanked. And in fact, like as far as I'm concerned, just because I am only doing the singles for the new record, like, and I say singles, it's just like we have two music videos that we're putting out for the new album, and that's basically the only songs we're probably going to be playing anyway, because I like to tread back into Burst into Flame and Mind Freeze and do stuff from the past that more people know, you know? So I might go in eventually and remove everything, and just keep a couple songs, couple choice songs up there, because I don't, to me, like I'm conforming and I'm like a non-conformist. Like I don't like it. Like I don't like what they're about. Like, you know what I'm saying? I like the convenience that it gives people as a business anti.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I would not be able to sit in a room with those people without getting.
Yeah. Yeah. Or in some cases, nothing. Now, in some cases, nothing. They're just getting nothing.
A freak show over there for me. I subscribe to YouTube Premium, so when I'm listening digitally, I'm usually it's YouTube is like my
Same here.
place.
Same
Plus,
here.
plus
But
some of the shit
even
that
it took me years to finally succumb to that too. I fought that for years, but
I felt like that was deserved because of all the things it is to me, because it's a music place. It's like I watch certain I follow some YouTubers, Chandler's Wildlife, Tyler Nolan Tattoo, Stone's World, and these are like venomous reptile, they're venomous snake handlers.
yeah,
So like I'm really into that, and I'm also really into Street League Skateboarding SLS, which is on here. So I like, to me, $12 for all that entertainment is like nothing. I'm glad to be like, here, or it's like 13 now. I think twelve
the
ninety nine.
headbangers ball in me still likes to go on and discover bands through videos. So
Yeah, for sure. And I like like what I'm doing even right now is like I'm trying to get on that YouTube shit because I think it's dope. Like I'm a big supporter of this platform, of you, just the user. It's almost like Bandcamp to me. There's a lot of freedoms here that is quite nice. Just there's nobody just slapping you down, and you can. People do monetize on it. I don't know how all that works. If I get there, I'll let everybody know. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah,
I'll be the first. But one thing I saw is like if I get to a certain point as a content creator, I could start putting stuff on my a store on here. Like my records could go on here. Like you could, like, the picture, you click it, it takes you there right
yeah.
from
Yeah, I've seen
here
that with some of the
supposedly.
bands.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know how all that works, but that'll be an interesting thing. But anyway, Dwayne, like the best, dude. I really admire all of your dedication to music. You're um
Same.
definitely
I appreciate
up
what you
there.
do too.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for taking time to talk to me, and I appreciate it. And
Yeah, dude. Dwayne Eldredge, More in the Light, ladies and gentlemen. Mourninthelight.bandcamp.com. Listen to their music. I am telling you, I personally am a fan of their what they do. Really good. Like you said earlier, Dwayne said earlier, like Night Demon meets Candlemass meets King X. It really does, but nothing's like them. Also, there's you could just hear the subtleties of the influence. It's not like a direct gimmicky copy of anything. It has its own uniqueness, and the singer Andrew has a really nice key. For me personally, I really like the key he sings in because it's very like it's laid back but like soulful, and it gives the music a vibe that is a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
it has a little bit more darker, deeper meaning to it. So thanks, Dwayne.
thank you.
Happy New Year, and hopefully our cross will cross paths sooner than later. And those that are watching, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, throw some comments down there if you have any questions for Dwayne or anything. I'm sure he would be happy to answer anything that you guys have about More in the Light, who I think everybody should go listen to right now. Have a good evening, man. I'll talk to you
Good
soon.
night. Thank you.
Later, bro.
Later.